right, so you can start now. All right, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's such an honor. Thank you, Schools in Lagos State, for inviting me onto this platform. I don't take it for granted. I'm a strong advocate of Montessori. And Montessori, I believe, is the education that we should all give our children now, is the education we should all have now. Not only because it produces the best adults, like when we talk about behavior, cognition, and all, like a totally well-behaved adult. All of the chaotic situations we find ourselves today, things that are happening, would not be happening if we have like a better foundation. Let me put it that way. So Montessori gives a nation that foundation that we need to be better people, to be better leaders, to be more coordinated humans, more respectful, more empathic. So that's what we're talking about today. Now, we're not focusing on Montessori as a program. We're focusing on helping your child develop executive function skills. But I make bold to say that every practice of Montessori, and by that, I mean authentic practice of Montessori, actually results in helping your child develop proper executive function skills. So let's dive in. What are executive function skills? I like that our first speaker has talked intensively about trauma handling, and that it relates to cognition and the rest of it. That was a beautiful presentation. And I really gleaned from that talk because it's all connected. When you do these things right from beginning, it gives your child the head start, the foundation that they need to be able to face life as better prepared humans. That's the way I can say it. So what are executive function skills? These are three, like an umbrella term to describe cognition, three cognitive skills that are fundamental in every human being. We all need executive function skills to take decisions, to regulate ourselves, to behave well, to quickly take an action, make plans. Everything we do in life overall, it's connected to our executive function skills. And these are broken into three different groups, where you have the inhibitory control, flexible attention, and working memory. So we need all of these to demonstrate as humans, as well groomed, well-adapted human beings who will not behave like animals in public, who will not take the wrong decisions. For example, when you're angry and you need to, send a wrong text to somebody, it's how developed your executive function skills are. It's what is going to help you to decide whether you should hold on, wait, and calm down a little before you send that message you might regret later. Taking an action of slapping somebody. We've seen quite a number of slapping in our society recently, and you can identify with me on that. So those executive function skills, if we actually equip our children with these at younger ages, they become better humans when they grow up. Yeah, so what are the importance of executive function skills? I've highlighted a few already, but let's look at it stage by stage. I have said it's an umbrella term in neuroscience to describe neurological process involving mental control and self-regulation. How does a child know not to pee on themselves, or not to eat sand, or to cry when it's not supposed to? It's self-regulation, and it's built from when they are very little. Executive function skill actually develop fully in adult life, but they start evolving. The children are actually able to demonstrate some skills even below the age 1. Yeah, So executive function skills, they grow, they stretch, and you can actually develop them. You can grow them. You can improve on them. They're not static. It's just like our brains are elastic at certain times in our lives when we are younger. And then the ability to stretch and impute a lot of information into that brain at that early stage helps the elasticity to acquire so much that becomes useful later in life. So we talk about control and regulation. Executive function skills, they control and regulate cognitive and social behaviors. Why do people behave badly? What helps somebody to decide whether to be promiscuous or not? What helps somebody to decide whether to take the wrong decision or not? To plan, to pay attention, to remember stuff, to organize themselves. When you go to some people's homes, everything is in disarray. But in others, you have everything is in order. In the Montessori classroom, we actually have a saying that everything has a place and there's a place for everything. That alone helps the young child to internalize those executive function skills that is associated with that act of order. So developing order and structure, organization, these are executive function skills effects that, become apparent in humans as they grow. Responding appropriately to social situations and stress. You and I know that Nigeria is a very stressful country to live in. Now, executive function skills actually help you to cope better and to deal with stress such that you are not responding negatively the way you shouldn't. Again, executive function skills are mental processes that enable us to plan, they enable us to focus, and as I said earlier, remember instructions. For example, when it's just like having someone in traffic, the controller of traffic. It takes executive function skills to know what to give priority to. You are cooking something on the fire, your phone is ringing, and then somebody is at the door. It is executive function skills that helps you to take the better decision, to prioritize in your mental capability. So these are things that we all need in our everyday life, and it helps us to succeed in life. It helps us to do better at things that challenge us and at things that, when life throws different situations at us. So if your executive function skills are well developed at a very young age, you happen to be healthier in life, you are someone who is able to cope better at any situation life throws at you, than anyone else. That is why we decided to look at, this today to help both the carer, the teacher, and parents to help their children to develop executive function skills. So let's look at the importance. What is the importance of executive function skills? By the way, I'd like you to throw in the chat, maybe questions, any comments, so that as we go along, I'm going to give room for us to contribute. This is supposed to be an interactive training session. So academic achievement. Academic achievement is one importance of executive function skill. People who do well academically are those who have executive function skills well developed, at their younger ages, and there are ways we can develop these executive function skills, but I'll save that for the later. Again, positive behaviors. I mentioned earlier that executive function skill is what helps you to take a right decision when you have the option of taking the wrong decision. So why do you choose, to behave well? Maybe somebody slaps you. The natural response is to give it right back. But your executive function skills that are well developed helps you to, pause, wait. You find that people can be very aggressive in traffic when there's a queue. Imagine the NIM going on when you need to queue and take a turn to do all of those life activities. It can be very frustrating, but executive function skills help you to put up a good behavior. I mentioned good health earlier. When research has shown that later in life, young people who were exposed to proper development of executive function skills behave better in their 30s. They are also healthier in their 60s. They live longer, actually. So I'm sure you and I will agree that these skills are worth developing because it's life itself. The success at work. Some people quit when they face crisis. It is executive function skill that helps you to multitask. That's what helps your emotional intelligence. Make the right decision and all of those things that help you to succeed as a proper adult. So let's look at skills that, work along with executive function skills. So for example, paying attention. It takes you to have properly developed your skills to be able to listen. So storytelling, for example, when you're listening to somebody tell a story, it actually takes a practical skill to be able to listen and relate what you've heard or understand and identify with what you've heard. Then flexibility. Flexibility is what helps you to be able to do so many things, multitasking at the same time. Metacognition, that's like being aware, going above and beyond, being aware of your cognition. Some people can, be standing and be sleeping. It is those skills that helps you to understand your presence, being aware of, what is going on around you, what is going on in your internal being, in your mental state, what is going on. Again, your working memory. Your working memory are skills that you develop that helps you to actually do math and science. Those are, so when you say people are poor in math and science, nobody's poor in math and science. It just depends on how they were presented. It also depends on how that person grew up. Some people also they are very poor at color recognition, not because they are dull, but life plays different situations at us, and some did not get the chance to be able to experience like a Montessori classroom where everything is taken care of from the onset. Perseverance, that's a very strong one. Today, we've heard a lot of, violent situation stories going, all around us. It is a good executive function skill, well-developed executive function skill in an adult that helps you to persevere in your job, your workplace, that helps you to persevere in your relationship with people and even your immediate family. So this is a very critical skill to develop because executive function skill puts you in a better situation to be able to display some of these skills. Again, planning, order, organization, self-control. I'm going to open it for like a chat so that we can talk about them and give practical examples. I spoke about organization. Somebody can be well orderly, planning everything from the beginning to the end, while another person just bumps in and anything goes. It is executive function skills development that helps you to be orderly in life. And those are things that, we can help our children develop, whether you are a teacher or you are a parent. There are ways you can help your child or pupil develop these things at their growing age. Self-control, I already mentioned about the slapping spree. Yeah, self-control. You require executive function skill to be able to control yourself and behave better. And then task initiation, taking the right decision, making the right choices. Sometimes you go to restaurants and seeing the food on display, you are confused. It takes, these things happen so fast and they happen in your mental region. So it's a cognitive skill. All of these are linked to cognitive skill. How about time management? Some people are generally latecomers to work, to functions, to occasions, to activities. It is executive function skill that helps your time to tick appropriately and helps you to wake up at the right time, do things. So it's that mental memory, working memory. In Montessori, there's what we call stereognostic sense. That stereognostic sense helps you to feel an object and cast the memory of that object in your brain, and it stays there, so that even when you are blindfolded and you feel that same object, you are able to recognize that, yes, this is what I am feeling. So for example, when you touch something hard and you touch something soft, it is the stereognostic memory that helps you to identify in your brain that this, what I'm touching or I'm feeling, is soft, even though you're not saying it, or is hard, or is furry, or is wet, or is dry, and all of those. So what are some strategies that you and I can adopt in helping our children to develop executive function skills? Number one I'd like to speak about is support, emotional support, mental support, spiritual support. Every human is made of the spiritual, the family, and the work. For children, play is their work. If a child comes to school sad, I like the example the contributor gave in the last session, where she said a child comes to school and, the countenance is, somewhat, and doesn't want to go home. So when you notice a situation like that, there's a problem. So people do better. Humans in general, psychologists have, proven to us that you actually perform better in every field of endeavor when you are a happy person. So your mood actually determines your success. When you are happy, you succeed at any given task, whether you actually like that task or not. The fact that you are happy and you are doing what you take joy in doing helps you, to a great extent to succeed at that task. So I would like to say to teachers on this platform that it is important that we don't force our children to learn. Rather, we fashion the learning into an aspect of interest towards the children. Research has also shown quite a huge number of optimal principles of optimal learning, and one of them is choice. Another one is interest. So there are several of them. Choice and interest, they work together. When a child is interested in a work, they're definitely going to choose that work over and over again. And so this is something that teachers should key into. If you want your child to do well at a particular subject, observe the child and see what they are interested in. In that interest, the child will make choices. So fashion your lesson, in the interest of that child, and carry the child along in what I call the joy of work. And you'll be amazed the exploration that child will come up with and how that child will thrive in that particular subject of study. So again, I like to say metacognition. Metacognition strategies are just to help the child get self-aware. There is what we call the mathematical mind. It's in every child, it's in every human. When a child is born, they are mathematical in nature. So that's why I believe there's no child that doesn't know math, and there's no child that doesn't know science. So as a teacher, you need to, I think you guys can read up on it, the mathematical mind. It's a huge aspect of Montessori. We key into it to help the child to do the numbers. You can see a 3-year-old, when you ask them, how old are you? Hello, how old are you? They are going to point, 3 fingers up. How do they connect that they are 3 years old with the 3 fingers? That's the mathematical mind. There's a whole lot of examples I can give here, for us to take away. It's inborn. It's a nature that we all have. So there's nobody that does not know math. You just need to connect that metacognition of that person with their interest. Once it is linked with interest and choice, that child would excel. And then I have here review before the learning begins. In the course of observation and reviewing, you are able to understand everything boils down to interests. You review, before the learning begins. So in the course of reviewing, you're going to be able to spot gray areas. What does the child like? What does he not like? Those are things that will help you to help this child better. And then in the course of review, there's a social group. Every individual craves for social interaction. It's a given. Where people are secluded and not socially connected, they perform less. So that's why social interaction is a very good place to start from. In schools, I recommend dance, group dancing. I also recommend things like taekwondo, where children have to make choices. You have to study opponents to be able to know when to hit or when to strike. Those require executive function skills. Any task that helps your child to think before they take an action actually promotes executive function skills. Posting schedules. In Montessori, we call them routines. Every activity in our work, from when the child comes in until the time they leave, has a timing. So that helps the child to tick in. Over time, the Montessori child will come to you and say, oh, it's time for lunch. It's time for outdoor. It's time for this. Those are mentally absorbed routines that become like internalized. So without a clock, because a 3 or a 4-year-old may not be able to tell the time yet, but they are able to tell you approximately when that activity should happen, because they've been doing it over time and it's become like an internal habit. So when people have routines and schedules posted, they develop habits. And when you fashion for the child, when you fashion it to become a positive habit, it helps them develop good executive function skills that, can take them to the right place in the future. Again, teacher interaction. Teacher interaction. The way you interact with your pupils or your children can determine how well their executive function skills get developed or how their performance will become in the future. What do I mean by this? When you constantly put down a child, even as an adult, if somebody constantly speaks down on you every time, talk down on you negatively, you hear negative words all the time, at the end of the day, you're going to begin to believe in what you hear, because there's a mental aspect of you that will begin to agree with what you hear every day. That's why psychologists promote positive confession. This positive confession helps you to internalize what you believe and what you hope for, and then it actually drives you metaphysically to be able to work towards that success. So teachers, parents, we need to stop speaking down on our young ones. We need to stop speaking down on our pupils. Why? Because the more we embrace them, encourage them, I like the way the last speaker said something about it's time to move away from what is wrong with you onto how can I help you? Or, what is the problem? How can I help you? So we should offer more support interactively than castigating or talking down on our pupils. No child was born dull. Situations at home can affect the mental responses, the society itself, and then your interaction with the child can actually, research has shown that when a baby is born, they are like blank, and then they absorb from the environment. Actually, I've seen a lot of research work, read up, watched videos on a lot of research work where you have a baby placed, with the mother. When the mother interacts friendly, lovingly, and joyfully with the child is very active and recognizes that, presence and joy, and absorbs the joy and exudes the joy and begin to demonstrate that same joy. But the moment the mother withdrew, or withdraws, the child, also sense that there's something wrong. The countenance changes immediately and it becomes really bad. So we need to watch our interactions with our children. We need to love them. We need to embrace them. We need to accept them for who they are and support them, in whatever situation, they may be struggling with. We need to give them the kind of support that is very warm and embracing. So when humans naturally, in psychology, when humans, feel accepted and loved, they actually behave better, So we need to give that to our children if we actually want to sow a good seed for them to better perform in the future. What about the environment? This is a huge part of what I practice, Montessori. We call it the prepared environment. How is that so? Before the child comes in, that environment is prepared. I mentioned earlier that play is good. Play is the work of the child. So you say your children, yeah, you play too much. A child can never play too much. Let me explain. When your environment is not prepared for the child plays and can actually hurt themselves. But when your environment is prepared and the child is engaged in mentally challenging task, even though it's play, it's enjoyable, it's fun, that child is going to build capacity and develop proper executive function skills, even without knowing it himself. So we need to work on our environment. We need to keep it first safe. I speak a lot about the joy of work, safety, and comfort. I look in our public schools, a lot of the seating facilities are not proper for children. You see a 2, 3, 4 years old sitting on a chair that is meant for a 7, 8, 9 years old. It won't give comfort to the child. And when there's stress, executive function skill develop less in the face of stress. So we need to build in comfort, we need to build in safety, and we need to build in attraction. There's what we say in Montessori, that the materials, the classroom, the preparation, it calls to the soul of the child. It's so attractive and it makes the child to be interested in even doing the work. So once that is in place, it helps the child to function better in terms of developing skills that will help the child later in life. Again, what about the potential for growth? Executive function skills actually puts you on a pedestal where you are able to grow and have that potential to grow. So in a nutshell, these are things that we need to develop in our children. Now, I want to say a few things about how do we develop these things. I mentioned earlier storytelling. That's a huge one. I also mentioned taekwondo, engaging your children in taekwondo. That's another good one. Dance is a beautiful way of helping children to develop executive function skill because they need a working memory to remember the next move. They need a working memory to remember what sound or what lyrics or music goes with the move, the mental, the working memory. So these are things that we can help our children develop. In the classroom as well, I also promote order. Don't let your classroom be haphazard, scattered, disorganized. Your classroom should be orderly and children should be oriented on where everything stays, just like we have in the Montessori world. There's a place for everything. When a child takes a material from a shelf, he knows how to put it back, where to put it back. And this is because the child is oriented. The Montessori child is oriented. You know, when they come into the classroom, they show them, this is where we keep this. And every work they do in the classroom is a presentation. How to. So even at home, parents can adopt the how to Montessori style. How to put on your shoes, how to lay your bed, how to drink water from a cup, how to everything will just help your child to develop executive function skills. Again, sequencing, which is a huge part of Montessori as well. You know, I speak like this because we've seen these things work in real life, and children develop because of what the skills help them to achieve. So sequencing, every work we do is sequential. And then, like I said earlier, maintaining routine, it's also a very good part. And then play, there is no limit to the play of the child. So I like to stop sharing now and leave it for us to have like contributions and open the mic. So if you want to say something, just unmute yourself and go ahead with your question or contribution.
All right, ma. Thank you so much, ma. Yes, please. If you have any question that you want to ask, you can unmute your microphone. Then I think we have. Okay. If you have any question that you want to ask, then go ahead and unmute your microphone and then speak to us, please. All right. Thank you. Or if you feel you don't want to say anything, just send your question to the chat room. Thank you. Yeah.
So parents can do so much and teachers can do so much as well. Don't leave it to the child. You know, unnecessarily helping the child to do tasks does not help them with cognition. Yeah, unnecessary helping the child. There's a saying in Montessori that says, help me to do it myself. This means that the child actually has capacity. Remember, potential for growth. The child has capacity, ability to do something, but many times we don't give them the chance. So sometimes even you as an adult need to develop that waiting spirit. You need to wait on the child to see what they can do, because in doing it, they are tasking their brain, they are tasking their mental capability to be able to carry out that task and building on executive function skill that they would eventually need for decision taking later in life, future and order and the rest of it. So social interaction, don't keep your, I read a book by Dr. Maria Montessori where she said that Britons, they like to put their children in nursery and just lock them up with the nurse. And then they go everywhere shopping and doing all of those things. And then the child becomes like a moron who doesn't know anything, because all the child sees is white walls and everything nurse and a nursery room, you know. So you need to go out with your children, very young children who are born like from 3-4 months, under 1 year, they need to go out a lot, because in that first 3 years of life, the child is absorbing, is taking in so much from left, right, and center. Is actually forming their personality by studying, observing the environment, or observing the people that are around them and using it to make decisions of who, make impressions of who they really are. So at young ages, we need to allow our children to come out, see the world, experience places, so they can have a mental image. And I also promote real things. I see something in the chat. Thank you. So impactful, interesting class. So impactful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Asking a child, how may I help you, actually helps the child to build self-confidence in you as an adult and also for the child. That's very correct. How may I help you? Is very supportive. Even as an adult, when somebody comes to you and says, how may I help you? That is very supportive. That is very supportive. Uche, do you want to say something? I can just hand over the mic. Okay. Another thing I want to mention that is quite critical in our environment is for schools, especially private schools. The preschool rooms are usually very colorful and decorated with all kinds of colors and flowers and decors and things. Research has shown that children, you know, between the ages of maybe 1 to like 8 years, early elementary, that's early elementary and preschool, they tend to do better cognitively when they work in a plain room. So the room can be painted in a beautiful color, but plain. So all of these decorations and colors that we throw into our learning space in Nigeria is not really the best, because it can be quite distracting in building executive function skills. So when a child is working and they are thinking, they see a color and then they focus their attention on something else. It's better to color the room plain, beautiful color, and keep it as simple as possible. You identify in many Montessori classrooms that this is the practice. Also, Montessori spaces are usually very beautiful, very, very beautiful. Okay, someone asked, how do we help a special child? To develop these skills? How do we help a special child to develop these skills? So every child has a capacity to develop these skills. How do you do that? There are so many ways you can do that. By allowing the child to work on tasks that challenge them directly. So for example, you can have a special needs child to stack up items. Even though this child is failing at stacking those items, leave the child to figure it out. We call that control of error in a Montessori environment. Yeah, so a child can develop those skills by carrying out tasks that task the brain, activities that task the brain. Things as simple as opening the door. So this child has difficulty opening the door. So you show, and then you wait on the child to get it. Things like threading a needle can be very helpful for children, you know, to develop executive function skills. In Montessori classroom, we call them practical life activities. So these practical life activities involve so much. Carrying a tray, things as simple as carrying a tray with something on it. It takes for the child to understand that this something on the tray can fall if I don't balance it well. It goes to the brain, so it's cognition. Folding napkins, pouring water. So when there's a spill, the child knows there's a problem, and then they can mop up their spill. Next time they do that, they'll be careful enough not to spill, not as punishment, but just mere understanding in the brain region that, oh, this was an error, and then there's a correction. I hope I get that correctly. Yeah. I think one of my team members are logged in my name. Yeah. So do we have any other questions? Practical life activities are a huge way of building executive function skills. Walking on the line and making sure your foot is on the line. So many activities like that just helps you to develop executive function skills on a daily basis. Routine, like time to wake up. If you are consistent with it, the child eventually internalizes, and it helps them to become better organized. Putting on your shoe, don't rush them like you want to go out, and you just carry the child and begin to help them. No, give them some time. So if you need to rush, like set out an hour earlier, so they have time to be able to do stuff that you may not be patient enough to wait on them for. For example, putting on their clothes, drying the towel after bathing, and all of those things. Someone says you spoke about order. I want to know at what age can you start teaching them to be orderly? Oh, so order begins from, as little as possible. Order is actually developed in children through sequence. When, there's a sequence of action, one step at a time. It's a sequence of action. So when the child knows step 1, I'm supposed to do this, step 2, I'm supposed to do that. And then you keep reinforcing that sequence should be maintained. Eventually, when the thing is out of order, the child raises an alarm because that thing is out of order. I'll give a few examples. For example, a little child, even a 6, 7, 8 months old baby, knows which phone belongs to daddy and which phone belongs to mommy, such that if somebody comes into your home and picks up your phone, the child can just walk up to that person and take the phone from you and say something like daddy, or walk to daddy and give it to daddy. That is order. So for children, the internal order does not come automatically. It doesn't get developed at once. It's a process. So as adults, how can we help them develop this? We can help them develop internal order by making sure our external order is in place. So for little children, they begin to develop their internal order through the absorbing of the environment. You and I are a product of the environment we grew up in. We behave like the people who raised us. I'm sure you agree with me on that. So the same way, what Montessori practitioners, when I mention Montessori, I'm not talking about those schools that have Montessori on their signage and then they do traditional work. No, I'm speaking about authentic Montessori practice, where the classroom is almost the same throughout all over the world, when you check. Again, children who are very young can develop order. How? Everything is in place. So the order of your environment speaks to the child and helps the child to absorb order internally. And then they begin to act orderly. At your home, you can have a place where you keep shoes. In the Montessori classroom, there's a shoe place for every child. So when they go there to take their shoes, they know this is where my shoe stays. There's a place for the water jar. There's a place for everything. You can start from there, having structure in place in your home. So when the thing is out of order, I heard a story about someone who, I think they had a particular pillow. Yeah, a friend, a Montessori colleague was sharing this testimony. They had a particular pillow in their home that, one side of it had a particular design, and the mother usually puts it in a particular way in the home. And then after some time, they had a help who came to clean the house or something and then misplaced the pillow the other way around. The moment the child entered the house that day from school, the child ran straight to the pillow and was like, who did this? And the mother didn't even understand what the child was talking about. Who did this? And just switched the pillows to the way it should actually be. So children are very observant, and we can take advantage of that observing nature in them to help them to develop internal order. So that child swapped the pillows to put them in the right. Who says that was the right direction? Because the mother had always put them in those directions. So that's some way we can help children develop executive function skills, order specifically. What do I mean? Your cups. These are where the cup stays. These are where the spoon stays. And then you keep them within reach such that your child will not go to the wardrobe and fall everything or drag every cloth out. But they will be able to reach, So at every age, you build to help the child to live a normal life with little, or let me say minimal assistance from the adults. So we actually make them independent.
Sorry, Ma, you have a question. Someone is raising a hand. Is Maggie, you can unmute, then ask his question.
Oh, yes, please.
All right.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. It has been a wonderful section. I want to ask, because, just like you say, I want to steal from the Montessori. When it comes to training a child about using the restroom, that like the potty training, at what age do you leave the child to be? Because we have most of the time we have situations in my school where sometimes the child go use the restroom. Even at age 4, 5, the parents want you to still actually stay in the bathroom with the child, so that the child, so many complaints. So at what age in the Montessori, that's a very vital aspect of training. At what age do you put the child to learn on his or her own, using the bathroom? Sometimes, they will fail in that aspect and we get a whole lot of complaint. At what age? I don't know if my question is going in the right direction. At what age do you allow the child to be themselves? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Ma'aji, for your question. Thank you. So just like we spoke about your executive function skill in general, self-regulation is a huge part of this, developing the skills. And self-regulation has to do with internal decisions, like you're just talking about peeing in the bathroom or doing whether heavy or light. Now, what we do in Montessori, we show the children all the time. Don't forget that in our today's world, there's a lot of mimicking the real deal. So a core Montessori child will not even use diapers.
Okay.
So when you say at what age, it's just like, okay, so I have a puppy and I didn't have to get a professional to potty train the puppy. So I got a potty for this puppy. I'm not talking about humans now. I just want to use this as an analogy. So every time the puppy does the poo or the wee on the floor, I take the puppy by hand and put her on the potty. And then I go wipe up and clean up and sanitize the area. We did that as a family for like about maybe 2-3 weeks. And surprisingly, the puppy goes there to do the thing. So I'm saying even an animal could be that oriented and then adapt. How much more a human who is more advanced, a more advanced mammal. So it doesn't matter what age, it depends on the child. So every child develops at their own pace and we don't judge them for this. So what you do as a guide is to observe the child. So for me, I say to my team members, it's better to do without diapers because the core Montessori child, they use nappy or cloth. Why? When the child feels the wetness, when they pee, it's uncomfortable. It does it the first time you clean up. It does it the second time you clean up. And they feel dry and happy after the cleanup. The mental memory, the mental signs or that cognitive communication aspect that tells you that, oh, I feel better. I'm no longer wet, It's what helps the brains to take the decision not to or to. Now, the reason why a lot of children stay longer to get regulated is because this was not activated on time. So many times, because of the diaper, when a child pees on a diaper, it feels dry. As soon as the pee goes and sips in, that diaper feels dry. So there is a pseudo comfort feeling. There's a false feeling. The child does not know whether it's, I'm supposed to be comfortable now that I've peed, or I'm not supposed to be comfortable now. I don't know if you're getting, the analogy. So
yes, I am.
Yeah, that's actually the way it is in real life. So that's why you see that children from the village actually tend to stop using nappy faster than those of us who have money to buy expensive diapers and all of that. So when they pee, they feel the discomfort, and the discomfort is a message, a neural message that goes to the brain to say, oh, so anytime that child feels the urge to wee, they begin to cry. Have you seen a child crying when the diaper is full and loaded, or when they poo on the diaper and all of those things? So those are some of the signs that help the child to regulate on the inside. So there's no age really, but ideally a 3-year-old should be able to go to the toilet, do the toilet after being shown. It's not automatic, no. You must first orient the child, show the child this is and when you are orienting the child, it must be sequential. It must take like stage 1. You tell the child this is, so I would like to, even when the child doesn't want to pee, you say, I'd like to show you how to use the bathroom. And then you take the child to the bathroom first, you know, depending on the age of the child. You wipe the seats, and then next you take off your clothes. And, you know, so you do it in stages and help the child to understand stage 1, stage 2, until the child is done. You wash your hands, you dry your hands, and then you come out of the bathroom. So once the child is shown sequentially, there will be no mistakes. I can assure you that. But you don't show just once. You keep showing until mastery is attained.
Okay, thank you so much, madam.
You're welcome. Do we have any other questions? I know my time is up now.
Yeah, you have about just 2 minutes more. Just 2 minutes.
Okay,
more.
I can take questions if anyone wants to throw in more questions.
I think I think someone sent a message to the chat room as well.
Okay, in Montessori, children are exposed. That's Tosdal Ogunjimi. Thank you for your message. In Montessori, children are exposed to their environment. For instance, teaching a child science in a Montessori way makes it easy to relate. You actually use this method for a special child in my class. Routine is also very important for an additional need child. That's correct. Routine, when a child knows stage 1, stage 2, yes. And again, getting professional help is also important. In our side of the world, we don't so much focus on getting professional help. Professional help, it's very important. You would scale miles getting professional help than trying to juggle it yourself. Yeah, so that's something to note. Thank you. Yeah, all right. And schools in Lagos, thank you for this.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your lessons. And I do believe that we've all learned a lot from this. Yeah. So the video for this training will be available to us on the WhatsApp group. So we are going straight to the next training. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time today. Thank you, and God bless you. So we are going straight to the next training. I'll forward the link to the next training to the WhatsApp group right now. All right. Thank you all. Bye.